Alright, so here we have the carburetor. The more time goes by, the more parts I see missing. By the way, you can note this outboard is old because they actually use flat-headed screws or bolts instead of like 6-sided bolts. And after that, don't rush it because most of the connectors here are made of like messing. I don't even know if you call it messing, but it is like some kind of copper which can easily break if you put too much strain on it. And after you have used your patience, you will just be able to pull it straight off. Yeah, here we have the carburetor. Wow, this looks almost brand new. Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 4. Can I trade my Yamaha for a Johnson? That is this series called. I think this is called episode 4. Correct me, editor. The editor is me. Correct me if I say it wrong. But I got some nice welcoming additions for today's video, which are some hopefully something I can use to fix something that I did wrong. Nice. And to fix the lighting issue which I had, because currently it is 6 o'clock at the evening and I got some really interesting light from Parkside. No sponsors, because I don't have any sponsors. But yeah, that's in today's video we are going to completely remove the engine block, and you're going to find out why I completely remove it a bit further into the video. But now, without further ado, let's dive straight in today's video. And also before we start, consider to like and subscribe, so you support me making more fun videos like this, and hopefully someday different videos too, not only about outboards, as most of the content has been on this channel. If you are asking why I have a hat on inside, here's the answer. Because I showered today and my hair is really fluffy. But now, let's go. Alright, first off I'm going to set up this Parkside lamp, work light, not lamp, which has 4500 lumens. That should be more than enough to light up this entire room, so you can see what I'm actually doing. I need to find a place to actually set this up. Maybe here. Take the cord, plug it in. There. Ah! I faked that. I knew it was on. Woohoo! More than bright enough. I mean, I can see what I'm doing. And hopefully you can too. Let me just show you what I mean. Here we have the lamp, 4500 lumens. And here you have the lighting it gives off, which is pretty nice. Because now you can see what I'm doing. Alright. Just take my t-shirt off. Here we have the Johnson, and I've done some things on it off camera, which is actually remove the head gasket. And now is the time to show you why I said completely take the engine block off. Because if I take the camera, there isn't actually anything special to see until I do this and then move it backwards again. Then you can actually see there is something inside of here, which is rust of some sorts. Well, maybe not rust, but there is something in this engine which I am a bit scared of. So I'm going to completely, going to completely take off the engine block and open up the crankcase to hopefully clean up the mess that's inside the crankcase. I have been filling it up, well, not filling it up, but spraying WD-40 inside of the inlet holes on both of the cylinders and also on the back here. So and it's not, I mean, this is free to move. This goes really smoothly. It didn't do to begin with. I can't hear anything alarming either. So I I think it still looks inside, still looks good inside, but I'm going to take off the take off the engine block and clean out the entire crankcase and check everything in there to make sure there isn't any rust or damage on like the bearings or something. Because if that's the case, it isn't smart to run this outboard with a damaged crankcase or crankcase bearings. So that is what today's video is going to be about: completely removing the engine block. So enjoy. If my camera focuses, enjoy. Oh, and also I did some other things. I took off the carburetor, and the fuel pump was broken. Well, is broken actually. So that's at least one of the reasons why it didn't run, because it leaks and it's completely broken. I mean, there are even some parts missing. So, and I also completely disassembled and cleaned out the carburetor, which if you want to see a detailed video about, ask me in the comments below, and maybe I will make it. And also I took off the head gasket and checked actually the head gasket. It looks, I mean, it looks good. And also I cleaned out the temperature or the thermostat, and that one worked too. So, and hopefully I've got some interesting epoxy paste somewhere. Oh yeah, I got some interesting epoxy paste that actually hardens up and makes a really solid binding with different kind of materials, including steel or aluminium or metal. So hopefully this will actually fix the broken gearshift handle temporarily. So yeah, let's start with taking everything off that needs to come off for actually to remove the engine block. Alright, there aren't any things that need to come off actually, only the bolts, which are quite normal because the engine block of many outboards is connected with bolts which screw into the engine block from beneath. Now, one thing actually I need to take off is the throttle linkage, which uses an interesting concept of actually, how do you call it, gears. Because if you can see, this one works with a gear here, so not cables as many outboards use it nowadays. So I need to actually loosen up, I think only up here, so this is free to move, and then I should be able to actually just release or loosen up the lower bolts and then lift up the entire engine block at once. So I'm just going to release this, hope that this is actually the only thing that I need to release, and also of course the lower bolts, and hopefully it works. Let me see, how is this connected? Head screwdriver. I need another light. The work light is good for filming, but it's kind of, it does so I can't really see what I'm doing myself. This is gear shifter, maybe? I don't know what it is. Cooling? Something. Doesn't really matter. Flat-headed screwdrivers. Yeah, I think that's it. Nothing more really. I think no. That's just it. So loosen up these two bolts, loosen up this, take off this. Let's get to work. Let me see. I think it's an 8mm. I hope it's 8mm. Yes, it's an 8. Bolt number 1. Number 2, number 3. This is quite interesting to get to. I need a longer extension. This one's good enough, I think. Nice that every bolt comes loose so easily. Oh, I just lost the bolt. I can't see where it landed. Oh, there it is. Huh. Got it. And number 4. What? I can't even get this off. Right, I can't really get this off actually, because there is no way getting this off unless to actually take the whole hang up, like where it connects to the low unit or the midsection. So we'll just leave it there. This one actually comes off. Was that every bolt? I think so. Yeah, oh, it's loose already. Well, nice, it's loose. That's good. Yeah, I lost the bolt there. So this one's actually from here. And something funny actually, this, I marked this as the front, but I did it incorrectly because it's supposed to go like this. So I just have to mark this as the back, not the front. So I don't get any confusions when I put this back together again. Okay, nice. Well, here they are. Originally it's connected to the rest of the outboard via 7 bolts. 3 here and 1 at the back here. But I'm missing this bolt right here, and this one is the one who doesn't want to come off without actually releasing the whole hang-up thing. So now it's just a matter of taking this off, and then it should just actually come off. And yes, I'm recording, but my camera battery is almost empty. It's pretty irritating that my camera uses all its battery so fast. That's probably because it's a Nikon. Not that Nikon is bad, but it's a Nikon from 2015. It's a Nikon D3300, and personally I think it's a pretty good camera. Also for filming, but it is a bit of a bummer that the battery is emptying out so quickly. The normal screwdriver wasn't working, so we'll just have to use the special screwdriver. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, older outboards actually use many flat-headed screws or bolts, and that's quite interesting because I didn't know this before watching another guy, which I don't really know his name of his channel, but he completely restored a really old Johnson, not this one but another model. So like that, and now this comes off nice, releasing this thing over here, and now actually that's everything. So yeah, now it should just be pulled straight off without any more hard work. So I'll just clear up the bench and reposition my camera tripod so you can have a better look at me carrying this and replacing or positioning it on the workbench. So I'll just do that. Just make some place here. Alright, lay some cardboard probably on the workbench so I don't mess this up. And then use my muscles. Right, here it is. I can actually just place it as it is now. Interesting, quite interesting. Let me just take the camera so we can take a better look. Alright, here it is. Here we have the... Whoa! This looks really clean. Wow. I mean, this is the exhaust port where like the exhaust comes in. This is the cooling channels. This looks extremely nice. How do you call it? Extremely good maintained. I mean, everything. Oh, I will fix that soon. Everything looks nice in here. I mean, I didn't expect it to look this good. So probably the last owner from this engine, or at least one of the owners of this outboard, really well maintained it. And maybe the rumor going around about this outboard is right, which is, it is actually one of the best produced outboards ever. So, and I really believe it, because this is from 1969 and it's extremely old, 65 years old. So this is actually really old, even older than my Suzuki, which comes from 1987, and my Yamaha, which comes from 1980. So this is probably the oldest outboard I've ever worked on. But I'm just going to clean out this mess in here, and then we'll take a look at this engine block. So stay tuned, people. Maybe get some snacks, and maybe even hitting the subscribe button down below. So yeah, goodbye, until soon. Alright, I'm back. Here's the engine block, and I haven't really had a look on the underside of the engine block yet. So I'm quite interested in the state of the underside and the crankcase, but I think it's actually pretty nice, because if it looks exactly the same on the inside here like on the inside of the midsection on the outboard itself, I think this is pretty good. But here we go. There's some leaking situation there. And here we have, wow, the engine block itself, and this looks brand new. well, not brand new, but I mean, I can actually see the piston rings. They're looking quite good actually. I can, well, not the piston rings, but pistons. I can see them through the exhaust. But I mean, look at the state of the exhaust. There's so little buildup of, how do you call it, exhaust. There's so little exhaust buildup here that you can still see the original red paint. Also in the cooling channels, no buildup whatsoever. So this is actually really clean for its age. I mean, my Yamaha was full of sand or salt or whatever you want to call it. But this one looks amazingly good. Nothing damaged, or even it just looks so good. I can even scrape off the remaining buildup. It looks really new. So let me just clean this up and then I will show you how it looks without the buildup, and I can promise you that doesn't really take so long. Alright, now I did clean up some debris, not all of it, but you can actually see the serial number or the part number, and this is already really clean. So I'm really surprised of the good shape this engine is. But we will just take off the crankcase. I think we actually, before we can be able to take off the crankcase, remove the flywheel. So let me just do that. I'll use these plates, and then if you turn it on its on the bottom again, or on the, if you turn it upright again, you can see I made it so that they line up. You screw in bolts and then you just tighten the bolts one by one, and then this puts so much strain on the flywheel that if you just knock it with a hammer, it just pops right off. So this is a real quick little DIY to take off the flywheel. I've actually seen some people tell you that you can loosen up this nut until it lines up with the end of the thread. Take a piece of wood, pull it like under here, and then hit on top of here with a hammer. But do not do that, because you can actually damage the crankcase bearings and the crankcase itself. So do not do this. Get yourself a proper flywheel puller or use this, but do not hit it on top of here really hard, because this will damage your crankcase. So do not do this. Big warning there. I've done it myself, it went alright, but there's a really big chance of you actually internally damaging the outboard. So just don't do it. Let me see. Bolts. Now I'm going to take the flywheel off. This is probably going to take some time, because if you've seen on my community, I posted a photo of me actually taking this off, and it took actually a really long time. So I'm just going to loosen up this bolt, screw in these bolts here, and then tighten them up, and then hit it gently with a hammer just to get enough force to pop it right off, if it isn't loose already, because I did it not so long ago. So I need to actually hold this tight. Let me just ask somebody to help me. Well, let's try it anyways. Maybe I can use my super strength. Look at this. I did it. Now my dad just helped me holding the flywheel, because it isn't actually on the engine or on the outboard right now. So this is free to move. First off, I'm going to try hitting it on both sides with a hammer gently, and hope that it will pop just right off. I don't think that's moving. No, probably not. Well, we'll just have to use the old, really long and exhausting method. Yes! And there it goes. It worked. Just check. I can't really hear anything. This is still going smoothly. And here we have the flywheel. I hope I didn't damage the, how do you call it, the crankcase? I don't think so, because this is much safer and it didn't really put too much strain on the engine, only when I hit it with a hammer and it jumped up, but this is a much more safer way to actually take off the flywheel. If you haven't seen the first episodes of this series, link to those videos in the description down below, so go and watch them after this if you have nothing more to do. But now I'm just going to loosen up this, take the top part off, loosen up back here, and then actually opening up the entire crankcase, which is going to be quite interesting. But I'm just going to loosen up those bolts and then I will get back to you.